He did everything right. Every form, every technique, every style. He trained while others slept, broke his bones, gave up his childhood, and became the greatest student the Jade Palace had ever seen. And he still lost. Not because he was weak, not because Po was stronger. He lost because something was coded into this story long before the first punch was ever thrown. Something hidden at a level most people never look for. And once you see it, you will never watch Kung Fu Panda the same way again. More than that, it might change the way you see yourself. Stay with me. Let's start with something hiding in plain sight since the very first scene. His name. Tai Lung in Chinese translates to Great Dragon. A baby snow leopard is left on the steps of the Jade Palace. No note, no name, no identity. Just a cub in the cold, waiting for someone to decide if he was worth keeping. And the very first thing Shifu does when he takes him in is hand this nameless child a destiny. Not a family, not a childhood, a destiny. He didn't name him Little One or Found. He named him Great Dragon. That name wasn't love. It was a life sentence. A beautiful golden cage that Tai Lung would spend every waking moment trying to prove he deserved to be inside. But here's the thing nobody tells you about golden cages. The door was always locked from the outside, and the person holding the key wasn't Oogway. It was someone much closer to him. We'll get there, but first you need to understand why Tai Lung was philosophically doomed before the story even started. Here's a contradiction that should genuinely bother you. Tai Lung worked harder than Po, trained longer than Po, and was objectively more skilled than Po. By every logical measurement, he deserved the title more. So why did Po win? The answer isn't in the fight choreography. It's in a 2,500-year-old debate buried inside this film that almost nobody talks about. Because Kung Fu Panda is not just a cartoon. It is a philosophy war disguised as a kid's movie. Tai Lung is Confucian to his core. Work hard, earn your rank, prove your worth, climb the hierarchy. Greatness is achieved through sacrifice and merit. Tai Lung checked every single box. Po is Taoist. He doesn't control anything, he flows, he accepts himself, and power doesn't find him because he chased it. Yup, power finds him because a firework launched him into a tournament he had no business being at. Oogway is pure Tao. There are no accidents. He plants peach seeds without controlling whether they grow, and he lets Po tumble into the ceremony because the universe placed him there. Now look at Tai Lung through that lens. He wasn't fighting Po, he was fighting the universe itself. And no matter how many bones you break, you cannot outtrain the universe. Oogway knew this the whole time, and chose to let it play out anyway. That's where the story gets genuinely dark. But before we get to Oogway, I need you to look at the man nobody holds accountable, Shifu. Because here's the truth this movie dares you to sit with. Tai Lung didn't create himself, Shifu did. Every morning Tai Lung woke before dawn and bled through training. That discipline had Shifu's voice behind it. Every night he fell asleep dreaming of the Dragon Scroll. That dream had Shifu's fingerprints all over it. And here's what makes Shifu's failure so devastating. He wasn't a bad man. He was a broken one. Shifu poured everything into Tai Lung not just as love but as proof. Proof that his own life meant something. Proof that his teaching was worthy. Tai Lung wasn't just a student. He was a mirror, and Shifu desperately needed that mirror to shine something beautiful back at him. So when Oogway saw darkness growing in that young snow leopard's heart, Shifu didn't correct it. He covered it with more training, more praise, more promises. He built the weapon, polished it until it gleamed, and then stood there in shock when it went off. The moment Tai Lung stood at that ceremony expecting the scroll, expecting his father to stand up for him, and Shifu said nothing. That wasn't just a father failing a son. That was an architect refusing to look at his own blueprints. Tigress said it plainly. Shifu had to destroy what he created. But how could he? He couldn't, because destroying Tai Lung meant admitting he built Tai Lung wrong. That cowardice dressed up as silence is where everything breaks beyond repair. But Shifu isn't even the most troubling figure in this story. There's someone who saw all of this coming long before the ceremony, and deliberately chose to do nothing. You've always trusted Oogway. Everyone does. He's wise, peaceful, ancient. He speaks in sentences that make you feel like everything is going to be okay. But look at him again, more carefully. Oogway sensed darkness in Tai Lung's heart when the cub was still young. And what did he do with that information? Nothing. He didn't warn Shifu. He didn't interrupt the years of promises and prophecy. He let Shifu stack expectation on expectation like bricks, building a tower that was always going to collapse. And then on the day of the ceremony, with 20 years of promises hanging in the room, he said no. No explanation, no guidance, no path forward. Just no. Why would the wisest being in the valley do that? Because Oogway understood something that doesn't feel kind until you sit with it. Some lessons cannot be taught. They can only be lived. The Tai Lung who stood at that ceremony, full of borrowed identity and desperate for external proof, wasn't ready. He needed to fall, all the way into the dark, not as punishment, as medicine. But here's what that means. Oogway wasn't just denying Tai Lung a title, he was sealing a fate. And there's a detail hidden in the film that proves the writers understood exactly what they were doing, a detail most people have never noticed. Now, here's the question I need you to sit with. Even if Tai Lung had received the scroll at the ceremony, if Oogway had said yes, if Shifu had defended him, would he have been okay? No, because the scroll is blank. There was never a secret inside it. The dragon scroll is a mirror. It shows you your own face and tells you that you were already enough. You always were. But Tai Lung's entire identity was built on the opposite belief. He didn't believe in himself. He believed in Shifu's belief in him. He trained not to become great, but to stay worthy of the greatness someone else told him he had. The scroll was never about power. It was proof. Proof that the sacrifice meant something. Proof that the love was real, and an empty scroll cannot give you any of that. If Tai Lung had opened it at the ceremony, he would have shattered right there just earlier without the prison sentence in between. This is why he was never meant to win, not because the system failed him, though it did, but because he was running toward a finish line that was never going to save him. The only way to win that race is to realize you've been running in the wrong direction.